It is now. Do we have a sign-in sheet? Thank you, sir. End of March, thank you. Ready? By the time. If everyone would stand, we're going to call this meeting of the Georgetown City Council to order. First of all, let's have a moment of silence. Thank you. We'll ask Councilman Alonzo Allen if he will lead us in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You'll be seated. At this time, Madam Clerk, if you will call the roll, please.
Mr. Allen?
Here.
Mrs. Wilkins-Brent?
Here.
Mrs. Butcher-Conway?
Here.
Mrs. Hamburg? Present. Mr. Hampton?
Here.
Mr. Showalter?
Here.
Mr. Stone?
Here.
Mrs. Sackett?
Thank you. You should have received the approval of minutes from the last meeting. I hear a motion.
Motion, Mayor.
Motion made by Councilman Allen. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Hampton. Are there further questions and or comments? Or questions or? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say likewise. Let the record reflect that the motion carried. You should have received the check registry for the of this meeting. If you have received those, please raise your hand. Let the record show that that all have received. At this time, we have public comments. I'll remind you, you have 4 minutes to which you state your business among to the council. Please be cognizant of the time. And this, again, this is not a question and answer, and your chance to make public comment to this council. We have Kim Rice from Georgetown, Scott County Parks and Rec.
I just wanted to come and give you a quick update on our comprehensive master plan. BCI, Branstad Carroll, has finished the first draft of it. Still need to do some work on the mission and vision statement and our strategic goals moving forward. Our steering committee is going to be meeting on Wednesday at 5:30 at the Pavilion. I'll also be meeting with the judge and the mayor on Friday, and then next week, Branstad Carroll will also do a presentation for the interlocal committee. So I'm also here if you guys have any questions for me, but that's all I came to talk about.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Next is Richard Smith.
I'm sorry. No, I'm speaking later.
Okay, all right. You're going to speak later. All right. Speak now, ever hold your peace. Okay, and leader for the South Broadway Storm Water Project.
You read my handwriting, good for you.
Thank you very much. I'm a school teacher. I've seen handwriting.
Thank you. Well, good evening, Mayor and members of the council. First of all, I want to thank Eddie Hightower and all of you for moving this forward. But I was only had a chance today to see the RFP. I'm going to get the acronym wrong, but the proposal by, I think it's called Prime. And I am excited to see that there are concrete things and things. Really, thank you, Eddie, because we talked at the horse festival, and it was like things can drag out forever. I did have a couple of observations that I want to bring to your attention for a number of reasons. But as you know, my position is always let's preserve and conserve and maintain the beauty of historic Georgetown. This particular project is 4 houses, very few people. The only reason it's of real significance at this point is because of where it is and what it does. So we understand that as a given. I'm glad I don't have your jobs. You have to make horrible decisions all the time how to spend your money and what is a priority. And I'm sure you have citizens all the time calling you with something that's urgent for them. And you're going like, man, you are so way down on the list, we can't even think about it today. So please understand that I do understand that. What I did observe in this group, and I have to tell you, I've owned houses built in the early 1900s since I was 21, and all of them have required repair. I've gotten older, quite a bit older, and they've gotten older. So the challenge is sometimes is coming around again. Didn't we replace the sewer line in that house, that other house, you know? So a lot of it is typical. And what I will say that happens is that whenever I've hired people whose niche is working on old houses, whether they be plumbers or roofers or whatever, I've always been happy with the way they've handled it. Whenever I've hired somebody who is maybe a little less expensive, but was used to massive projects, new housing, ripping out a room, putting in all new plumbing, going from the ground up to build a new beautiful bathroom that you see on TV all the time with a fancy shower. And then my goal is preservation. And so I will have to say I did not see that this particular group, however competent they are when they've clearly done some difficult projects, they're all big. They're big stormwaters, the Lemons Mill School. I didn't really see anything that pertained to historic spaces in historic and small, tiny little spots, this tiny little area. And so we have a lot of problems. And I know that Mr. Hightower says, you know, there's going to be the engineers who are going to look at the groundwater and the actual, some of the structural issues of the soil and all of that underground, but it is a complicated problem. And what I worry about is that you will encounter the same thing I have, is that people go in with an idea and are not aware of what happens when you deal with fragile, ancient infrastructure, both in terms of the hookup to the sewer under Rucker, and also our properties that are so close together, and the damage done to our foundations over especially the last 20 years, 18 years, as a result of all the flooding. And so I just want to say, the only person I saw that had experience was Ms. Beard, I think her name is, and she worked for the city of Frankfurt and was part of the 2nd Street restoration down by the government buildings, and it was an old part of Frankfurt making a connection to the brand new government buildings. And she was a city liaison, or was part of that process, I don't know exactly. But she worked, the people that did the program and the people that got the award for it was Strand Engineering. So I'm not saying go with Strand, because I know they're probably the most expensive, but I am saying that that's an example of when you have somebody who's used to dealing with historic areas. And I'm not casting any aspersions on Prime at all, because they have done some pretty amazing things. But this is a little tiny little spot that's kind of critical, and once you get to rebuilding the rest of it, as they say, God willing, down the road, we want that to be a strong space too. So I just wanted to mention that. Again, I am not in your shoes, and I know this is just the beginning, and they're going to be a lot more expenses, and maybe it is more important to save money in the beginning. I don't begrudge you that. Believe me, I've made all those decisions in my life too. We wanted to put a historically accurate house on a roof on the top 2nd story of our house. We had to just stick with the gutters, copper gutters. We couldn't afford to do the other. So I totally understand that. I'm not in any way, I'm not even begging. I'm just saying, what happens if their experience is such that they're not as aware as they could be of some of the more complicated issues? We would hate for it to actually cost more in the end, which is really what I'm thinking ahead to, is and so again, that's something that you'll be responsible for, and the other people involved in the project. But I felt like I really had to say that. And also thank you for moving this forward, because man, I didn't think I'd see this day. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, does anyone else that need to address the council would fail to sign in?
What did you say, Mayor? I'm sorry.
Is there anyone else that needs to address this council that did not sign in? You could come state your name and please.
Vincent Morris is my name.
Thank you.
Just looking to continue to bring issues like the bridge up, affordable housing, but not affordable in the way we think. We have a lot of people here who are 120% of median, so they're struggling. Some of these people are living off $11,000, $12,000 a year. Right? We have a public housing authority that is subpar at best. The sites are trashed. The units are not in good condition. And we don't want to get people off the street and put them in subpar units. We have a list that's got 700, 800 people on it that we don't have units to put them in. And so when we talk about affordable, we got to really define what that means and how it applies to the people who will apply for the housing. I just think that we're at a point where we're growing and we're having this homelessness issue. I got them coming to my church. Most of the time I let them sleep in there because it's cold outside. When the place on Bourbon Street runs out of space, they come to the church, or they'll call me, and I'll get up at 11 o'clock at night and go around there and open the church and let them sleep in the church for the night. At least they got heat, a bathroom, food. I mean, things are really different outside of this building, outside in these streets. And we as a people need to lean on systems that can help these other people. I'm gonna keep coming. I've offered all kind of ideas to handle this thing. All we have to do is put them to use. They work. I know they work because I was the one who created them. I wrote the legislation. I got the legislation passed. I ran the programs. So I know they work. All we have to do is apply them. But I'm telling you, we're having a real issue with the homeless group. They're starting to really show themselves. And we don't want a situation where they create a camp and then the police have to try to go get them out the camp. I mean, it just turns into a mess. And so I'm just here to ask for some help. They need help. We need help to help them. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that failed to sign in that needs to speak to this council? Thank you. Couple from the mayor's comments here is that, first we have a executive order approving the reappointment of Steve Woodrum to the airport board. So, do I have a motion? Motion made by Mr. Hampton. Do I have a second made by Ms. Hambrick? Are there further questions and/or comments?
Yeah, I have a comment. The Community Coalition, one of the things that we did was work through the last administration in terms of leveling up the boards and commissions, the appointments and things, and because it was not a real good process, so we worked real hard. And now we have an online process. You can go on the city's website, you can see the purpose statement of the board, how long the term of the board, how many members are on there. And I was reviewing this one, and there is no term limit, which doesn't have anything to do with Steve Woodrum's appointment, but there's no term limit, but this is his third term. So that one kind of caught my eye. So this will be his going into his up to 12th year. And I was just curious with the online application, is there an opportunity for council members to see that or know how many people have actually applied so that we can have a better understanding of, is there a pipeline of people wanting to get on the board? And so that's my comment.
Okay. Well, there is a process which we've been using, and the online, I look at all the applications, and then from that point, I will weed them out based on what appointments, what boards they want to serve on. I have an interview process. I bring them in and have a conversation with them, and then I make recommendations to this council as to that. But I do try to make sure that it's diversified by looking at people from all works and all genders and diversity in doing so.
Mind if I add something specifically to the airport one? So the airport board is, it's funded partially by the city and county, but obviously they generate quite a bit of revenue out there. So actually we're asking airport representatives to attend our interlocal committee meeting next week, just to
have an opportunity to educate the fiscal court and city council members on what the airport brings to our community in terms of economic opportunities and just kind of what their operations look like. So that's one where I think it's an opportunity to improve our understanding. That board, whether it has term limits or not, there's actually some question about whether our website's correct there, so I'm going to be looking into that. But whether there are limits or not, improving the turnover on boards, but also maintaining that continuity is important. So there will be a brand new appointment coming because there were 2 appointments to make, and Mr. Woodrum will kind of maintain that continuity since some other senior members will be rotating off next year. So expect another appointment there, hopefully next meeting, but kind of their joint appointments, so working with the judge on that as well.
So do we have people that are in the process requesting the airport board?
Yes.
We do?
Yes, we do. Yes, and matter of fact, I keep a file. Matter of fact, I separate them by what boards they are trying to apply for, and I keep that, and I constantly review that when we have openings. And I also go look to see one's new, because some of these were in from last year that actually, when I first took office, that had applied, and then we would ask those if they still wanted to apply for that, and someone would say, yes, I'm still interested, or they're not. So. Any other questions or comments?
Just a comment by what Alonzo was saying. Just looking at the new members or looking at the applications and everything, I think the public would be happy to see new faces instead of the same ones that hold it all the time. I mean, it just doesn't look good.
Yeah,
actually.
but trust me that there are new people on boards. And I put new people on boards.
Okay.
Yes, constantly, and I do that. I do look at people and actually what they serve. But in this was a situation where we had some issues going on that it needed that we need to make this particular move. Okay.
And term limits. I mean, it would be nice because I think, our positions here should have term limits too. And that's just my personal opinion. But I just want to throw that out there.
Okay, any other comments or questions? All those in favor of this motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say likewise. Next, the executive order approving the appointment of Teron Happy to the Parks and Rec Board.
I'll make a motion.
You make a motion. Are there a second?
Second, Mayor.
Are there questions and or comments? And Mr. Happy is a new one to the board. In its first term.
I did research that.
Are there further questions and or comments? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say likewise. Thank you. Next, this weekend, the 13th, we have the, it's coming up on the Martin Luther King celebration, which will be Monday. This Saturday at 9 o'clock, we will have the Martin Luther King breakfast. It's at 9 o'clock. The city of Georgetown has secured a table, and so there's 8 spots. There are 2 taken so far, and I think Mr. Allen makes 3. And if you want to attend that, please just let my executive assistant Wendy Robinson know that. If you email her that, and she will be glad to put you on the list. It's at 9 o'clock.
And that is at the extension office, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
9 o'clock at the extension office will be the breakfast. And Monday, January 15th at 4 o'clock will be the MLK March. It'll start at Georgetown College at the Student Center, and then we will make the loop around and finish up there. If you want to walk with us, then we will be there at 3:45, and then we can start from there. So that's open to you. Next, coming up in the next meeting, the Chief Thompson and his training officer and battalion chief will be bringing to this council on the training center. We have had talk about this training center a long time, and they have been working diligently on this. Most of the work that they're trying to do, they're doing it on their own dime, which thanks for that. And had we was to put this out in normal process, this would have cost us probably doubled. So that being said, they're going to bring a presentation to you at the next meeting and give you an update and hopefully have some support. One of the things, in the process of going through this, look at this, we have found out they unintentionally added some more money to this particular part of the budget, which was approved by this council. So again, they're gonna bring this information to you on the next meeting, what was needed. After that, we're hoping that this council will look at that and then make support. There is no action required by this council on that.
Just a question, will that presentation include the total cost of the project?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off of what the mayor said, that will be a high-level budget proposal. Since they're doing a lot of the work, skilled labor in-house, in coordination with our risk manager, ensuring that everything they're doing in-house is passing muster from his perspective and from an insurance perspective. It's not your typical develop specs, put it out to bid project, but they've worked to identify each piece of equipment and any labor associated and assign a cost. Hopefully, since a lot of that labor is in-house, those costs will be even lower. But the goal would be that the council would leave next meeting expressing support for the project and it moving forward. As you know, we have $50,000 in grant funding and we'll continue to apply for grant funding. But working also on getting kind of some renderings, working with an engineering firm so that the council can actually see the final product and what service it's going to provide to our department and to others.
Also, next, we met with the Development Impact Group this past week, and next steps going forward, we'll need to be sending some information that they're gonna require from us. And then once that's done and information sent to them, we will give you all an update as to where we progress with them. This coming week, matter of fact, on Wednesday, we're gonna meet with the compensation study group that comes in and actually looking at the salary for not just for our police, but for our whole group, which will be all the employees of the city. Sometime in March, they hope to have this study done, and at that time, we'll make sure we'll give you an update as we go on that. All right, next, I'll make my notes here. I believe that's all I have right here. Again, thank you all so much for your diligence on a lot of this is going around with us and getting things done and answering questions that I've asked some of the council people and having some good talk with you all and being actually upfront on a lot of the issues that we're facing. Next, we have the council committee reports, and I think we have fire, police, and finance. Is that correct? No.
Finance won't have one this time.
Okay.
We just finished.
Oh, yeah,
We
just
haven't
finished
got the
one.
minutes approved yet.
Okay, all right. So we have at least fire and police.
I didn't get mine done. We just had it this morning, so it'll
Okay.
be next meeting.
All right.
That's fine.
Hey,
Doesn't have to be based on minutes. It could just be a quick
Oh.
update if you
Yeah.
want.
We can do that.
yeah, just give an update, what you got.
So we met Thursday. We approved the minutes. We talked about the fire training budget. There was an error in the budget of 11.5 versus 115,000. So we've talked through that. And we also talked about the need to understand the training center's full project costs, which Mary used talked about that. Well, I guess we'll see that next meeting. We reviewed the SROs and the police vehicles, and we need to work through the school system to understand what the funding of this project is, because the school also has it in their budget to support the SROs. We reviewed the Avaya Cloud Ring Central Voice over IP system. Did I get that right, Devin?
Sure.
That was a lot. So basically, Sarah's talking about switching over to a new system. So we asked that Sarah come to this meeting and give a cost comparison of the current condition and issues versus the proposed condition, so that council has a clear understanding of what that looks like. So we'll be working to get Sarah in to do that. We discussed the mid-year budget amendment. Insurance premium, ABC taxes are due at the end of January. Police are requesting 3 additional officers, and also Cortico app, so there's some costs there. And Stacy will be giving a full presentation to council in the respective timing. And then we had some discussion around the capital and operating budget priorities work session, which I believe that's January 18th.
Yes,
correct?
next Thursday.
Next Thursday. What's the time on that?
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock.
3:30?
It's 4. yes.
Good.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Allen. You want to give us kind of an update, what you talked about this morning?
Yes, sir. Let me switch notebooks. Let's see. The police department, we met this morning. We currently are at 60, I think I got the right notebook, 60 officers.
That's correct.
We have one non-certified that is looking to be hired very soon, 2 non-certified in the process, and 5 certified that are in one part of the hiring process currently. One is a possible recruit coming in from Hawaii. Mayor and Chief Allgood and his staff will be looking at going to several colleges to recruit. Chief Allgood starts back to his Georgetown College later this month, so he will be able to recruit there as well. With the getting closer to that fully staffed number, we're hoping to be soon to be looking at the staffing for a traffic unit. And that's going to be a thing that is definitely needed because, you know, that's a big issue right now is there's a lot of speeding and a lot of traffic issues. And with the traffic unit will help alleviate the report units, and correct me whenever I'm wrong, Chief, the report units, because that will free the report units up to take other calls, and the traffic unit will be allowed to handle those calls as well.
Todd, can I add a little right there?
Go right ahead.
I asked how much it would cost to add the 3 officers, because I think it's important for the public to realize that these are recurring funds, but safety is a major priority, as the mayor brought up during the meeting and all of us, and it would be close to $500,000. So anytime we bring these things up, we always have to balance safety needs with budgetary constraints, and that's right where that would be.
Right. Looking roughly at 100 total cost to completely hire a traffic or an officer is roughly $153,000 per year. That includes uniform, equipment, benefits, everything. So one of the things that we're looking at. Currently have 2 hired retired SROs. We're in the process. We do have 3 now. 3 hired SROs, and we're paying for 3 in Scott County School System. Be looking towards them to help pay for the other 3, and they have a meeting with them on Friday. Looking at possibly getting another K-9 unit, single purpose drug/track patrol dog that could be interact with the school systems, and this brings more opportunities for the officers, and they will be meeting more on that. Police vehicles for 2024 and 25, excuse me. Looking at potentially getting 19 vehicles with another 12 on a watch that could be in the process of being rotated out, and this is all within the lease program. But this does not count the SRO vehicles, because we will be using vehicles that are on the far end that could be rotated out, but we'll be using those for the SROs. And getting that many vehicles will put us back on a 5-year cycle to rotate vehicles out every 5 years, and several years. Instead of rotating them all out at once, it'll be put on to rotate vehicles every year and on a 5-year cycle. Spring Citizen Police Academy, this is class number 27. Starts March 12th at 6 p.m. and will go through May 14th. So anyone that wants to sign up, it is a well-used academy. It's a real eye-opener, as is the fire department's academy as well. Won't take anything away from them. And then the couple other things, we did I'll let Chief Allgood talk about the junior chief for the day. Just, you said it better than I will.
We just try to look for another way to engage and interact with the school system. The ages that we were looking at were 7th and 8th graders. So we went to the middle schools and talked to the principals, asked for one 7th grader and one 8th grader from each school. We gave them a criteria of things that we would like to see in a student, good attendance, does well in class, doesn't cause trouble, may be interested in law enforcement, and then whatever the school saw fit. They put that out to the teachers, to the students, and those that were interested. So over Christmas break, we were able to host 4 students from the schools. Assistant Chief Nash did have a staff meeting already set for that day, so they got to listen to a staff meeting. We talked about our pursuit policy, use of force, things like that. They were able to critique a pursuit that we had. So a lot of good question and answer time that we had there, and hopefully this will plant the seed for when they get older. And we look to maybe do this again next year.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Cortico app that we've talked about several times. It is a sole source project. So Assistant Chief Nash will be coming in, getting with the mayor and Devin and getting that online, and then we'll be bringing it to the council for a budget amendment. And then we did talk about some of the capital projects. One of the things has been, I think everybody has been really pushing for is body cameras. That is still definitely one of the top things that needs to be looked at, as well as salaries. We did give a big jump this time, but that's one of the things that we need to look at, and not just for the police department, but across the citywide is, one of the things that we did discuss is longevity and experience pay, as well as having it laid out to where if I work 10 years, I know I'm going to be here 15 years, 20, 27, whatever the case may be. And so that may be something that the salary committee can look at, as well as on the body cams. One of the things that is required is a civilian that will handle all the related issues with body cams, such as open records and any issues that come up, possibly sending them back, getting them worked on, whatever the case may be. And that's it.
Thank you. We have one more, Fire.
This might take a minute, so I apologize in advance. We had a fire, Mrs. Brent, the mayor, the fire command staff, the administrative assistant to the fire department, Don Halsop. We all had a meeting last Wednesday. And we discussed several items, and I think the 2 most important items, I'll leave what I think is the most important for last. But the first item is Chief Thompson and his command staff have been working diligently to set up a funding mechanism to help retired firefighters not have to pay or if they do have to pay at a reduced cost for cancer screenings. It's critical. Those officers, whether it's a male or female, have given everything to this city, and they deserve the best. And Chief, your staff, and Donna, thank you. We got a long way to go, but we're making progress. When I say we, I apologize. I need to take myself out of that. You and your staff and Donna are making significant progress for those folks that came before you, one of which is sitting right next to you. And it's very important, because I think without that funding, a retired firefighter that has the annual cancer screening, I think the cost is in excess of $600 for a cancer screening, out of pocket. We can do better. We should do better. So thank you for that. The second item, I'm just sitting here I'll tell you what I won't say what I'm thinking. We've jumped over this fire training facility. It's gone pretty quick tonight in discussion, and I think it's important to take a step back and really understand what we're trying to accomplish. And, you know, Chief Thompson and his command staff, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was either June, July, or August, had applied for a grant from the state, and they were awarded a $50,000 grant. And with the ultimate objective of building a fire training facility on city-owned property at the old recycling center on Paris Pike, next to Southern States, to have a classroom setting for instruction, to have a training tower on the property, and ultimately be able to do training on the creek, to do water training. And Mayor, the mayor, the finance committee, and this city council approved the budget back in June. And there is a $100,000 expense in our budget that was passed that would fund this fire training facility. So I get it. If we want a detailed plan, that's fine. If we need to wait until the next council meeting, I get it. We've been talking about this for quite some time. The money is already budgeted. We're not adding a budget expense. We don't have to take a vote. All we're doing is giving our approval. The only vote would be if somebody wants to remove the $100,000 from the budget and they get a second, and then we can vote on it. Otherwise, the money's there. It's in the budget. And again, if we want to wait until 2 more weeks to say yay or nay, I'm all for it. But it's there. This fire committee and this mayor came out of that meeting last Wednesday in full support of this project. No questions asked, no hesitation. We're not taking money out of our $30 million general fund that we got in reserve to pay for this project. It's been approved. It's been approved. We're building a classroom setting. The chief is going to continue to file on an annual basis for additional grant money.
Every 2 years, Mark.
Every 2 years, with the hopes that we can continue to add to this project. So what we would start out with $100,000 is not going to be the finished product. It's going to allow the chief and his team to start work on that project immediately during these cold weather months, doing in that classroom, in that building, drywall, HVAC, paint, plumbing. That's what they're going to be working on this winter. And the ultimate objective is we're 2 firefighters short as of right now at the present time. We've got at least 4 more firefighters that are going to be retiring at some point during the summer months. At least 4 more. Potentially, I guess between 4 and 6 that have the time in to be able to retire. Why is that so important? It's important because if we can start work on this training facility immediately and get it done before the next firefighter recruit class starts, we can do all of that training here in Georgetown and don't have to send those recruits to Versailles or Frankfurt or a surrounding community, which ultimately saves us money. So I'm ready to act on this. We don't need to take a vote. It's just whether or not we want to go ahead and say, yes, let's move forward. If there's not enough support to do that, then I guess we have to wait until our next council meeting. But I think it's pretty cut and dry. The money is there.
Let's move forward.
We're not asking for a $100,000. It was already approved. So I'm ready. I give my yes to move tonight, and if there's not enough support, then we wait for 2 more weeks.
And I fully support my
support.
co-chair, Mark, too, because
Make
I
the
was
motion,
thrown
Mark.
off tonight because I thought this was moving forward tonight. So I'm just a little, I don't know what's going on. That's why my face was looking like, I thought we were discussing this and getting this to the public and to the council tonight. It's there. It's a no-brainer. Let's just go for it and let's do this.
Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
There's no,
Okay.
I apologize, ma'am, sorry.
Yes, sir.
I support moving forward.
and I do too.
So,
He says there's no motion needed, so what do we do?
There's no motion
Mark? I want a motion.
I'll make
So-
I'll make a motion.
so I'm here in this council, with no one saying anything, and everybody in support of this, that we can go ahead and give him the go ahead to start that process.
I thought he was already doing it.
Yeah. No, he's not. He was kind of waiting a little
No.
bit.
Well, I mean, it's already in the budget.
And
Yeah.
the chief
But-
is here, and he can go on and explain to the public here, and that's on
Well,
YouTube right now, and let them know what's going on, because
Well,
We do, you know.
what's going to happen, he can start on this, but he can still come back the next meeting and tell what his progress is and the
Yes.
timeline, where they are, because I think that's important. So the main thing he needs to know now that they're going to go ahead and start, they have been working on this, so they're going to continue to work where they left off with, Chief. And then all you got to do is in the next meeting, you'll bring us some, up to date, hey, this is what of the money that we have left that we need to go forward with that. Is that workable? Okay,
thank you.
all right. Next on the item, okay, is anything else there? Good? All right. Next, we have the quarterly update, the Director of Affordable Housing and Homeless Prevention, Candace Whitehouse, who came to us in July, so she's
Yes.
still with us. That's good.
We're on
So-
our second quarterly, I can't believe
Yep,
it.
so let's go ahead and talk about that.
You all have my report in your packets, I believe, so I won't read to you. You all can see that, but continuing to do a lot of meeting out in the community and building connections stronger and new connections, so that way we are working together as one. The one notable one on that, I would say, is I was invited to join the Driving Possibilities committee is what it's called, for the Toyota initiative. And so I attended my first meeting for that last month, and I have another one for that this month. So I'm very happy to have been asked to be in that room with a lot of really smart folks working on that initiative. And so feel encouraged about that happening here in our community. As you can see, the trainings that I've attended this month, one that I did not list was one I went to this morning, which was the Kentucky Housing Corporation K-Count training, which brings me to K-Count. That is something that we have been doing in our community for the last 5 years. Unfortunately, we haven't been doing it longer than that. Kentucky Housing Corporation does a once-a-year point-in-time count. If you have been around, you've heard me talk about it, and with my other hat as Elizabeth Village. It's really important for our community to participate, so that way the state knows the numbers and the data on our homelessness issue here in Scott County. And so prior to this office existing, Elizabeth Village had that and they were the county rep. But now that my office exists, it seems to make more sense for me to take it over. seeing as I work with all of the nonprofits. So although Elizabeth Village is still doing a lot of the heavy lifting literally with the resources and things, my office will be the point organization for that for our community. And so I went to that training this morning along with 5 other organizations, and I feel really proud of that. I believe we had the most in the room, and I know in the years past we haven't had that many represented at a Kentucky housing training, and so I feel really encouraged by Scott County showing up to that. The K count will be on January 31st. If you would like to participate in that on any level, I'd love to let you know. It will include a dinner at the gathering place. Resources will be given out. The folks will have access to needed things like health department materials, and it's a big night, and the gathering place will actually be hosting the first part on their campus, and then K-Count volunteers to do the unsheltered count, so counting folks who are not in in any of our shelters here in the community. That doesn't start till 10 p.m., and so we'll be leaving out of Elizabeth Village to do that. So the total that we're trying to count is anybody who is under the HUD definition of literally homeless, which I know can be a little controversial, but that's the definition that we have to go by that evening. And so essentially that means people who are literally outside in one of our shelters like Elizabeth Village, Gathering Place, Mary Safe Haven, or in the hotels, and have paid for that, or that's been paid for by an organization like a church or a nonprofit. And so I could talk about that for a long time, but if you want to know more about that, let me know, and we are looking for volunteers and things to participate in that if anybody in the room is interested.
On January 31st, what time at the gathering place?
6 p.m. is at the gathering place, but then the actual count doesn't start till later, and it'll be at 9 p.m.
Okay.
So fingers crossed for good weather for that evening, because it makes it a little tougher when there's ice and things. The second thing I wanted to definitely highlight this evening is the White Flag Shelter. We are continuing to work to get that building open right now. We have paperwork turned in for a permit through the state, and so we're waiting to get that back, and we're anxious to hopefully get that up and going in the next month or two. It's definitely not moved as quickly as we'd liked, but it's in the works. So we are working with the county and the gathering place on that.
Candace, could I interrupt there just
Yes.
for a second? In the meantime, since we've got some cold weather that's happened, where are the folks
So the
getting
gathering-
the shelter now?
Sure, the gathering place is functioning as they have been the past 2 or 3 years. And so they do have space for folks in their White Flag Shelter. It's just not as much space as we would like, and it's not the setup that we would like. So this new building is going to provide a lot more opportunity.
Okay.
So they're open, but they're open under
Limited.
their guidelines, because it's restrictions with them.
No, so the spaces that they have reserved for the White Flag Shelter are still under the White Flag guidelines. But they have a separate shelter space for their gathering place residents.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
And so folks know that that space is open and they can come anytime during the day or night?
It's 8 p.m. to 8 a.m.
8 to 8?
And ideally, they want people there by 8 p.m. And then the idea is to kind of lock up and keep everybody safe until 8 a.m.
Okay, but no restrictions?
No restrictions on the White Flag Shelter, no.
Okay.
Any other questions about that? And we do have a lot more communication going on about that. So if you're on a Bluegrass Ride van, there's signage about that. There's a lot more social media education on the White Flag Shelter this year. And so the numbers for that are up, according to the executive director at the gathering place.
You did say there was plenty of spaces there at the White Flag Shelter?
It is limited right now because the
Limited.
building is not open.
Okay.
Did they get the trailers moved from the high school?
The trailer is moved, yes.
Okay.
We just have to have the permit to actually occupy it.
Okay.
And so are folks being turned away? Do we need to look towards other places
I
since we
have
need
not
more
heard from
room?
anybody being turned away.
I mean, that's a good question. Just because, just the gentleman's, Mr. Morris's, when he was up here speaking, he said his church or something was
Yes.
open and taking in people. So that's why I was just questioning. Maybe is there restrictions or someone's not getting there? I mean, and I know it's not question and answer, but I'm just curious because we're talking about affordable housing and shelter. Can you explain that to me, what you just said? You were bringing in people?
We have we have our church is like right in, like the Northern Heights area. So if you go, say you're a family, a man and a wife, the gathering place is only for men. So they have been turned away. They come to my church. I know for a fact they've been turned away. They've been told that they cannot come in as a family. She will have to occupy the woman's side. But if there's no space, he's not going to go in and leave her outside. Right? So they come to us. They come to the church. They go to, they hang out where that liquor store is in the back where the trailers and all that are. They go back there and try to find space to sleep. There is challenges with this, the shelters here. I had an issue a couple months ago with my son. My son went to get some help. He wanted help. And I had to call the director, the chairman of the board, to get him a bed. That is, why do I have to do that?
Okay.
Okay, and I apologize. I didn't want to, I'm sorry, and I apologize for that, but I will get up with this.
Just a minute, just remind people here, this is not a question and answer.
Right.
We're not gonna come here and attack people, okay?
Right.
That's not what we're not gonna do here.
Exactly.
Okay, you know, she's here to give the report, let's give her the courtesy of doing the report, and let's go on from there. If you have questions, Sam, you know, you can always email us, and we can find those answers for that. Go ahead.
Okay. And then the last thing I want to highlight on my report is the housing needs assessment that I've been speaking about. And that's something that is incredibly important to this office. We'll be able to collect data that we definitely need in order to make big decisions moving forward on larger projects or seeking funding. And so that housing needs assessment, the RFP closed on Friday, and we got 6 responses. So we are, I guess I'm new to this whole government thing, but a selection committee is what I've been told we are doing next, so I will be working to move that forward as quickly as possible. But in that housing needs assessment, we are looking for data on obviously the affordable housing needs, the housing inventory that we already have, population demographics, salary and housing cost analysis, a collection of community desire in housing, and then projections of economic development impact. So that study is going to be a pretty big undertaking, but we have a lot of folks who are interested in getting that accomplished because it will not only help this office, but it will help other nonprofits, it will help other business partners, it will help other community organizations to have that data as they are figuring out how they can serve in their missions better. And so I know that we have some interest in helping fund that as well. And so I think Devin wanted to talk about the funding for that.
Yeah, just a reminder that Scott United did vote to support that project financially and, you know, just support it in principle, which I think is a really important thing to note. This issue touches our employers significantly as well. So it makes sense for the economic development folks in our community to support the initiative. So I was really thrilled that they were on board with that. And then the goal would be that we would have a county representative, a Scott United representative on the panel to select the consultant. And obviously the contract would be with the council. We will get confirmation that the fiscal court and Scott United approve their third, and then we'll bring the contract to the council once that occurs. But I did want to kind of remind everybody that this is it's a local government and a community issue, and thrilled that Scott United's on board with it.
Yes, so does anybody have, I don't know, this is not a question answer thing. So that's all that I wanted to highlight on my report. If anybody wants any clarification on any other parts, I'm happy to do that.
Candace, I do have a question.
Yes.
As far as the housing authority, have they have any plans whatsoever to build new housing?
Yes.
Or to get grants to upgrade what they currently have? Because the last project that they built was, I was on the sheriff's office, that was 1992 when they built George Martin and Powers Drive, and they have done nothing since. Are they looking at building new?
Yeah, so Brand is somebody that I talk to almost on a weekly basis now, and if you all don't know, she's the new executive director there, and she's been with the Housing Authority much longer than that, and I know that she understands the needs and sees the waiting list and hears of the affordable housing issues, and I think it'd be fine with her if I said she knows that eventually she's going to need to add housing to the Housing Authority. One thing she's focused on right now is making sure that they have a solid foundation. And so now that she's new in this position, she's looking into, you know, all of their policies and procedures and making sure they're up to date and in compliance with things that the Housing Authority needs to be in compliance with. And that's something that I know when we attend board meetings, the mayor and I, we see that hard work that Bryn is doing to make sure that we are good with what we have now before we launch into adding more housing, so that way we're not biting off more than we can chew. So she's working on it. I feel certain.
And I've heard from other people as well, and this is not an attack on you by any means.
Sure.
But, you know, they do need to upgrade what they've got, because I have heard from people that, you know, there's a lot of issues in the current housing that they have, but, you know, they've got to step up, you know, over a long time.
Yes.
I won't do the math, but 92 was the last time they built anything.
I think
you know.
Bryn has been handed quite a challenge, and I think she's taking that on, but there's a lot of things going on that she's going to have to work on behind the scenes before they launch into adding more housing. But I do think they just did inspections on all of the units, which was long overdue, and I know from some of the clients that I used to have that some things are being repaired, and they have been being repaired over the last month. So I think there's movement happening. Bryn's just making sure she does it the right way.
Okay.
I have a comment, and I thank you for bringing to light the foundational compliance issues, because when you try to go out and get grants and you try to get funding, if you can't check all the boxes, you're a no right on. It's not going to happen. So getting the wheels turning is important, but it's a critical need. And one of the things that's happening, I believe it's in Bowling Green and other places, is this tiny house concept. And I was just wondering if it would ever be possible that a few of us take a field trip to Tennessee, where it's big, or even to Bowling Green, to see and to make appointments with some of their government officials and see how they're implementing, or do it on a Zoom call, or some way to maybe see a model of how some of these more creative things are happening elsewhere. Maybe the Kentucky League of Cities can help us coordinate something like that, because with what's happening at the state legislature, they're making it tax-wise and otherwise. There are bills moving through the legislature in a bipartisan way that would make it more amenable for people in Georgetown to be able to do this in a more economic way. So it's just an idea that I would be interested in pursuing.
And I think creative solutions is definitely a part of the housing needs assessment, or a piece that I would like in there, because I don't think that doing something standard is going to fix our issues that we have. We're going to have to be creative in how we move forward, and so I think the housing needs assessment would be a great place for that to be inserted.
I appreciate it.
What kind of training or what do we offer, like the homeless people? Is there some kind of, to get them to, like credit counseling and how they can become self-sufficient to get back into this community? Is that part of your job, or something that
I don't envision this office being client forward, but I know a lot of great nonprofits that are doing that kind of work here in the community. So depending on what you're looking for, we could talk about, if you need, Transform Scott County or Gathering Place, Elizabeth's Village. There are pieces and aspects of the personal improvement in all
I've
of those
sent people out
programs.
myself, actually to certain places or whatever. I literally go out at night sometimes and take people food. They're over in the, they're behind buildings and this and that. I'm very passionate about the homeless people. I'm gonna, it's a passion for me. But we've got to do something to help them.
Sure.
I ran into a mother with 4 children. And come find out she can't read. She's got a 4th grade level. She's got 4 children. She was at the homeless shelter or whatever, and she's been there for a while. And what are we doing to help her? What is the shelter doing to help her to become self-sufficient? Help her to get her GED to read or something. We've got to do a little bit more. We do a lot of meeting. I'm very passionate about this, and I know you're new to this, believe me, and I'm not coming at you, I'm not trying to attack anyone. But this is a passion. I got on city council because I want to help my community. And the homeless people is part of my community too. And we've got to take a stand and do something about this.
Yeah.
And I want to offer my services. I love to sit at the White Flag Shelter. I'll be glad to sit there at any time at night or anytime somebody needs a volunteer. Don't have to pay anybody. That's what I'm here for. I'm a public servant, and so I do need to get with you. And I didn't ask the gentleman to come up, and I don't believe he's trying to attack you. I think he's got a passion too, and I apologize for going off the record or whatever. Yeah, I'm a year in this, but this is my passion. And I care about the people, I care about the public, I care about the drug addicted. And we've got to do a whole lot better in this community, the city and the county. We have to do a lot better. So please reach out to me. I will reach out to you because I want to help where I can help.
Sure.
Thank you.
I think something I've learned in my 10+ years of work with Elizabeth's Village and working with homeless individuals and unhoused is that there is no easy solution, and so I think that's frustrating and can maybe get us down sometimes because you can go get 10 individuals and they're all going to need individualized programming, and so I think that's a hard part, especially when government's trying to fund programs. They would like to find one that just fits everyone. And so as I continue to support programs who are working with clients, I will definitely keep in mind that we have some passionate city council folks who are interested in helping.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Just,
Candace.
I have a question. Can I ask a question?
I was waiting for you, Alonzo. You're being so quiet over there.
I've been patient. So I know you talked about the housing need assessment, and I think I heard you say last time that you need that before you can put together a strategy, correct? Okay. So in terms of going forward, will you be able to separate it out between what is homelessness and then on this side, affordable housing? Will it be separated out? Because I see the report and it's kind of just all in there together right now.
Well, it's all spaghetti, right? Like
Yeah,
it's all mixed together. But yeah, so when I sit down and look at goals, or when we sit down and talk about a strategic plan in the future, I think definitely making sure that our objectives fit under one of those two categories, but a lot of times it fits into both. But
Okay. All right. I'm being patient.
yeah.
If I can help, please let me know what I can do to help.
Yeah. Okay.
Please.
Me too.
Thanks. I always need coffee if anybody wants to do that.
Thank you, Candace.
Want to add to that, and I know we do have a lot of council members and citizens who are passionate about the issue, and like Candace said, they're married. Homelessness prevention and affordable housing are married. One of the primary root causes of homelessness is crowded out, lack of affordable housing. But when this interlocal agreement was developed, it made it clear this office is not to provide direct services. So Candace is a resource. She knows all the partners. We want her to have those relationships, but she is not going to be face-to-face providing a resource for a client who needs housing. She's going to be able to connect the dots. She's going to be able, but the goal is for this office to build affordable housing infrastructure, capture dollars that aren't coming into our community, identify what kind of housing we need through that housing needs assessment. Because like Mr. Morris mentioned, affordable housing is such a broad term. Affordable housing is not just uppercase affordable housing that, not in my backyard housing. It's assigning units to match income levels, right? It's making sure there are units available at every level of income. So it's a tall task, and I know there's a lot of passion for it, but I do want to make sure we're emphasizing it's a one-person operation, and the goal is to assess Georgetown, Scott County's landscape, improve affordable housing infrastructure, advocate for it at the planning and zoning level, and so much more. But think it's going really well. I know there will be a strategic plan upcoming. I know that's a question that's come up, but I think once we can get that consultant on board and get that study underway, I think it's going to provide really valuable information for us to work with moving forward. So thanks, Candace.
Thank you. And again, once again, that is an issue that's just not just affecting Georgetown, but it's affecting the state and this whole country. And you see it, and we all have compassion in our hearts. We try to figure out how do we help people, but I think what we're trying to do is just try to put something in place where at least a plan of trying to attack this, because this is some problem that it may take years to figure out. And so I'm glad that we at least taking the steps. But if you look at her position, we're probably one of the few in the state that have this position. If you talk to everybody else, they don't have this. They just, you go find a shelter if you can, and you live with it. But we're one of the ones that's ahead of it, and she's been asked to come to different different types of programs, speaking and talking a little bit about this program that she's trying to put together. And so it's new, and it's gonna have some bumps to go through like everybody else, but in the end, I think it'll be very beneficial for our citizens here going forward. And in this city, this council will support you in any way we can to make sure it's done.
Very much so.
Yes.
Next, we have the GMWSS, and it's A through E, so if you want to continue through each one of those, and then we can go ahead and do one for that, and then do F separately, okay? Is that possible?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I will attack it as such. We have 6 items for your consideration, and we do have some, being halfway through our, just past halfway through our fiscal year budget, and seeing where we are, we're ready to pull the trigger on a number of budgeted projects tonight. So first, we have a purchase order for the Hat Company in the amount of $11,301. This is a budgeted item to a sole source provider. This is a purchase order for services related to maintenance contract for our phosphorus removal equipment, phosphorus monitoring equipment at Plant 2, wastewater Plant 2, includes annual calibration, repair, labor associated with repair, and monitoring of the equipment. We have to have this equipment to meet our, to make sure we're meeting our discharge permit. So this again is a budgeted item for wastewater plant number 2. Next, we have a purchase order for Evoqua in the amount of $15,692.50, and this is for repair of one of our aerator shafts at plant number 1. This is not a specific capital project. This is funded through our annual plant maintenance budget that's within our annual operating budget. Evoqua is the manufacturer of the equipment. This equipment's been in service a number of years, and they are the sole supplier. Just because we don't like going with sole source, we try to minimize that. We did reach out to a number of machine shops, I think it was 3, see if there was a different way we could go about this. Those attempts were all unsuccessful, so we have to make this repair. We have to maintain that aeration in order to maintain treatment, meet our discharge permit limits. So we are recommending approval of this purchase order to Evoqua. Next, we have a purchase order for Judy Construction, and that is for work completed in November of 2023, so 2 months in arrears on our billing for the Plant 1 upgrade and expansion. This purchase order is in the amount of $556,572.37. So 556,572.37. I apologize, sometimes I don't read those numbers well, but earlier today, I sent out an update. I'm seeing shaking heads, so I hope everybody received that. That is a schedule on kind of our spend rate, our budget schedule. It's not, that's not necessarily correlated to the actual time, days of work schedule. That is spend rate schedule. And what I wanted to do is just tie that to the actual numbers in the pay application that you see. So we're 63% of our project budget spent with this purchase order, and that compares to 67% of work completed. So those numbers, there's been a gap in that since we restarted the project, and you see those numbers slowly as each month goes by with each pay request, they're starting to draw closer. We want those numbers of budget spent very close with schedule. We don't want to be paying more money than what we're seeing as work completed. So we're happy that those numbers are tightening up as they normally would on a project. This one obviously being very unique. So that is what we have for Judy Construction. Again, the project is continues to move along, and with a great project, a great partnership with Judy Construction to get us through what has been a very challenging project. We're very happy with where that is as we work toward our beneficial occupancy date, which is March 21st of 2025. If we maybe at some point on this project catch some luck, we hope that we bring that in advance of that date, but that is the contractual date for beneficial occupancy. Our staff, Judy Construction, is doing everything we can, again, to bring that in advance of that, and we will
Can I
keep
ask
you
a
posted.
question, Chase?
Yes, ma'am.
When you say beneficial occupancy, does that mean that it's going to be in working order and we're
Yes, ma'am.
basically just left with landscaping and?
That means that we can receive new flow.
Okay.
Means that we no longer have to, we won't just, we have a wait list for capacity, and we're still evaluating those. It's just not, we've got to be a lot more considerate about how we go about that. It's not just open door. As soon as you have one, it's going to be approved, guaranteed.
And so the wait list will be who applied first? and then
Yes,
go
ma'am,
down
it's
the
first
list?
come, first serve.
Okay.
With the only stipulation that smaller requests, under 2,000 gallons a day, those can be considered by policy independent of the wait list, because they're small, really not going to see a change at the plant based on a small, like a single-family residential. We don't want somebody that's just trying to get a new connection at a house to get caught behind a major development. Wouldn't be fair, so we have that prerogative that our board can apply as they see fit. But we're very happy with the beneficial occupancy. That again is when we can start opening that door on the wait list.
Okay.
And so it won't be that come March 21st that all the wait lists will be approved. We will do that measured. We will do that so that as we receive the new flow, we'll be operating a completely new plant. We do that responsibly and in a manner that we can manage that flow and learn how to use the new plant as we go.
Okay, thank you.
Very happy with the progress, and we will continue to keep you updated there.
Chase,
Yes, sir.
Let me ask a follow-up question to Mrs. Amber's question.
There, and I don't mean to put you on the spot. Would you have any idea at all how many projects are waiting for that?
I believe at Plant 1, it was 18, and I think we've got some new ones in. It might be up to 22, range 18 to 22. I can send out to council the exact number tomorrow.
Okay.
And those range from anywhere from small projects to very large projects. Let's see here. I think we're at item D. This is a purchase order to Herrick Company in the amount of $644,000. This is for the wastewater plant 2 disinfection upgrade project. You all already approved this contract at the December 11th, 2023 meeting. This is simply a purchase order that goes with the contract that we will pay the pay applications against. So I'll stop there and ask for questions, and as Mayor directed, if you want to consider those together before I go on to items E and F.
Motion's made by Mr. Showalter, second by Ms. Conway. Are there further questions and/or comments? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed say likewise. Let the record reflect that the motion passed.
Thank you. Items E and F are related to the same project. This is a recommendation of award as item F, and a purchase order is item E for engineering, design, and construction administration services for our south side water storage tank and distribution system improvements. So let me take you back first to this time last year. This was a project that was included in our revised rate structure. It was one of the ones that remained in the rate structure, and it was also approved later in the spring of last year in our current FY24 budget. So approved in the rate structure, approved in the budget. And for those reasons, I did not set up a full-blown formal presentation on this project. But if council would like to see that, I can go queue it up. It's about 12 slides, but I can first give you some general information, and we can go from there. But normally, a project of this magnitude, I would bring you more information, but we have discussed this project in quite a bit of detail last year. But Kentucky Division of Water, just as a high point, through their regulatory guidelines, it's 10 state standards, requires drinking water utilities such as Georgetown Municipal. We have to have so much water in storage, and that is equal to your average daily demand. That's so anytime you turn the spigot on, the water comes out, and anytime Chief Thompson needs to fight a fire, there's water in the tanks to do that. Currently, our system, we don't have that storage. We don't meet that guideline through 10 state standards. Our current average day demand is 4.2 million gallons per day, and we have, within all of our storage tanks that you see around town, we have 2.55 million gallons of storage. So we are under on storage. So how do we get away with that? Well, we have emergency water connections with the Frankfurt Plant Board and Kentucky American. So we can, through our water plant and then those connections, we can refill our tanks very easily 24/7. However, that is not a way we want to operate. So this project will allow us to increase our storage, first and foremost, as well as it will increase our level of service for both domestic usage. You'll notice this mostly when you turn on your shower, you want that high pressure. You don't want that trickle. So it'll increase for domestic usage. It'll also increase our level of service for fire protection through most of southern part of the county. And kind of, if you're thinking about the bypass as a clock, the numbers on a clock, you go from about 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock on the southern part of the bypass. That's where this project is going to benefit us. And then south to the southern part of the county where our service area extends to.
Chase, is this connected to where we got money in the county?
I'm going to get there.
Okay.
Can you just?
Yeah,
that's coming right
similar.
up next.
Okay.
This project is partially funded through our rate structure, and then it is partially funded through a line item grant that we applied for and pursued that we were successful with the state legislature. So overall, this is a $12.7 million project. $5 million of that will come from the grant that we will spend down first, and then $7.7 million will come that's funded through our budget and our rate structure. This is one of the major projects that we just felt was absolutely necessary for reasons we've discussed, that we felt like this one had to stay in as we cut a lot of other projects last year. So really right now with this recommendation of award and this purchase order, we're wanting to kick off the planning and design of this project. And so that's what this recommendation of award is for. And the purchase order is in the amount of $696,000. And this is for engineering services, that's planning, that is surveying, environmental, that is alternatives analysis, then we get into detailed design, permitting, and this is also for bidding and construction administration services and construction inspection once we bid the project and get a contractor on board. Our budget for the engineering was $747,000, so we're just under $50,000 under budget with this price proposal. So we're recommending this contract to Hazen. Hazen has done a lot of work for us in recent years, notably our South Sewer Extension project, which they've done an outstanding job on. They're doing our sewer hydraulic model, and they've done some plant work for us as well. We have a pool of good consultants, but they submitted the best price. That's documented in your memo, and we have every confidence in Hazen and knowing the sensitivity of our engineering selection after what we have gone through and had to persevere through. We know how sensitive this is. Promise you nobody's more sensitive to it than me. This is, for this important project, we feel like this is our best foot forward, and where we are confident that we can have a very successful project. So.
I guess they have enough liability insurance to cover?
We, since our Plant 1 project, we have reevaluated a number of things related to liability insurance, and we evaluate it on a case-by-case basis. There's not a blanket policy, but where Hazen had other projects, so pretty much with each project award, we look at what is reasonable and what is reasonable for liability insurance. On Hazen's other projects, they immediately doubled theirs, and I'm sure that whatever we feel like is a necessary liability insurance amount, that is what they will provide. just saying that we're going to do it by a percentage or a certain blanket amount, that could be problematic for a number of reasons, just because projects are different. And as I showed you in the memo, we sent this out to 5 firms that we felt were qualified. We only got 2 responses for a major engineering project. This is a great project if you're an engineering firm, and we only got 2 responses. So we want to protect ourselves. We have to protect ourselves. We also have to balance that if we put some crazy liability insurance stipulation, one, we're going to pay for it, and 2, are we going to have anybody that wants to work with us? So we will do our very best to make sure that we are protecting ourselves, protecting the project and our customers. We have to do that in a measured response, a measured way.
Okay,
And
help
I
me
think we
with
will.
another clarification, and that's helpful information. And so with this $696,000, and you say, you know, we've got the $5 million grant and $7.7 million coming from our rate structure and our budget, so this is coming from, this money will be part of the grant money or part of the rate structure money?
The 7.7 is from our rate structure.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So
And,
that's us.
and this is, at this point, I want to point out that this is based on planning level numbers. We don't have an engineer retained to even do it. We don't even have a preliminary engineering study. This is internally what we've looked at of similar projects, calling vendors, tank vendors. That's the biggest part of this project, and basing with our engineering staff just planning level 30,000 foot estimates. Part of this engineering contract, we will be doing an alternatives analysis, whether we're going to do tanks in the air like we have, or whether we're going to do, is it more economical and more optimal to do a ground storage tank, or multiple smaller tanks to get that bigger number that we need. Then we also have to figure out what is the optimal for what we have budgeted, how much storage can we build. We think that we can get a lot of storage. These preliminary numbers are based on 3.75 million gallons of storage. That number might be reduced based on what we have to spend. That number might be increased. We don't know yet. That's what we need to bring the engineer on board to help us. We've probably done the maximum that we can in-house. It's time to bring in a consultant to help us move this forward.
Yeah, well, thanks for that information. It helps me to, the more I know about water at this point, the better I feel, and I appreciate you bringing forth and answering my questions.
Please, just real quick, you may have already answered this, but the engineering itself, does the engineering firm, will they use a second set of eyes to look at this before any work is done?
If the question, if you're looking for, will we bid a separate contract for QA/QC?
No,
right now, no.
I'm just asking, will Hazen have a quality control check?
Will we have a quality control check? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just as we did with them on South Sewer Extension.
Okay, is that it? Do I have a motion?
I'll second.
Motion made by Mr. Hampton, second by Ms. Hambrick. Are there further questions and/or comment? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say likewise. Let the record reflect that the motion passed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have the Chief Administrative Officer. First, the phone system information and update.
Yes, so Councilman Allen referenced this earlier in his Finance Committee comments. Apologize if there was any misunderstanding. Stacy and I thought that you just wanted us to prepare some numbers for you all to kind of tee it up. So we didn't really hear a request for Sarah to be here. So that's not on her. But she did Stacy pulled some numbers. But I'll give you all the full background. As of now, we currently have a phone system that is on-site, server hosted. And I'm giving this in the layman's terms that Sarah would not. I don't understand much of what she says, but so our current system is 7.5 years old. Some of you might recall that the council in fiscal year 2016 made a bulk upfront purchase around $120,000 for that system. And since then, we've paid around $9,800 a year in an annual support contract, which is a little misleading because that contract actually provides no support. So it only includes device replacement where they break, and software upgrades, really. So really minimal contract. Any service calls were, time and materials costs that we incurred. We've got some numbers on over the course of the phone system, how much we've paid there. But really what we did essentially, since we didn't have that support contract, is we used internal know-how of Andrew really to manipulate the system and make any changes. So when we asked Converge One, our phone provider, to go in and make any improvements or address issues we were experiencing, they basically said, well, we don't know where any of these lines are going. We don't know what you've done to the system. So a nice low-cost solution for a while. It served its purpose, but at 7.5 years old, the system really needs, one, the phones themselves need upgraded. They're past their useful life. But two, it's kind of a good breaking point, especially if we'll be moving back into City Hall, and as you all know, everything is transitioning to cloud-based as the recommendation. So we do, through Converge One, our provider, have a proposal to shift to an Avaya Cloud Ring Central hosted solution that you mentioned. And there's some upfront installation costs, but also there are a lot of functionalities that are going to be included that are going to not only increase functionality for us, the end users, but it's going to increase service to the public. I don't know if anybody's heard complaints over the last year, but we did experience significant issues with our phone system, largely because it is reliant on the network. So any firewall issues, any network issues will directly impact the phone system that is connected to that. So that's an issue that we can completely take out of the picture. So any additional costs for coordinating with NetGain, because it's a server or firewall issue, those costs can be removed. When we move back to City Hall, Mayor Jenkins can simply unplug his phone, walk to his new office up here on the 3rd floor of City Hall, plug it in, and it will sync. So that's something that is something to consider. It'll fully integrate with Microsoft Teams. It has functionalities such as eFax, which I didn't know anybody had to fax anymore, but for HR we do. It'll provide a lot of functionalities that law enforcement requires, hot desking, which I do not know what that is. Chief doesn't know either, so it must be very techy. But also, as a part of this proposal, a service component is provided, at least to start. If we would evaluate this contract and say, we're not getting our money's worth out of these time and materials, money's worth out of this, we can remove that portion of the contract. Because according to Sarah, there is a lot less room for error here. There's a lot less need for calling the provider and getting those maintenance requests. So that's a really high-level update. Another thing that I would note is not everyone will even need a phone. So maybe some officers or firefighters who don't regularly sit at their desk, they can still have a phone number. They can still have access to our system through either an app on their phone or on their computer. So that's another way to kind of maintain efficiency. So the proposal to go to this Ring Central hosted solution would take the network issues out of the equation. So if our network was down or if there was a firewall issue, the public's still reaching us, we're still reaching the public, and we're not dealing with the runaround with NetGain, with Sarah, with frustration from departments, and I can assure you that we have some departments that would probably come up here and express their frustration. So wanted to just kind of tee it up because we will come back to the next council meeting requesting approval under a state price contract that Converge One holds for this system. The upfront cost, you heard me reference the initial cost of around $120,000 for the existing system, plus $55,000-ish in maintenance costs over the life, for a total investment of $175,000 over that 7.5-year life. What we'll come back with is a monthly cost of approximately $3,400, and that does include that maintenance amount, that monthly maintenance amount of I believe close to $800, $791. So that's something that, as we evaluate how the system is operating and how our users are operating, we can cut that cost. It's included initially. Another pro to this proposal is that Converge One has agreed to provide 5 months free of charge, so we won't start incurring cost until the beginning of the next fiscal year. So from the date of acceptance through July 1, we won't see any cost. There will be an upfront installation cost of $22,373.20, and then that annual cost the monthly cost, of $3,450. So that's just a really broad overview. Like I mentioned, this is on state price contract, so the procurement portion has been satisfied through that mechanism. Sarah strongly recommends this in terms of end user flexibility. We're really going to get a lot more functionality out of it, and it really is the direction that it's headed regardless. What is the alternative, you might ask? The alternative would be to renew our annual support contract at a cost of $9,800 and eke by with our failing system. Another negative that we're experiencing right now is, for example, when we bring on new staff, we're actually not even able to provide them with a city phone. I mean, they have their city mobile phone, but in terms of adding direct dials and things like that, we're really just unable to manipulate the system. So at that point, it's a complete override. We could eke by with another renewal under this, but then the recommendation would still be at the next fiscal year to move forward with this Ring Central hosted solution, knowing that after 1/31, these prices will change, and most likely that 5 months of free service, I don't know, I can't say if it's going to go away. They didn't tell me that, but there's a chance that that offer won't be on the table anymore. So, like I said, this is an update. If you have questions between now and next meeting, don't expect you to have them right this second, but please submit those, and we'll work on getting answers. We'll also work on cleaning up kind of the cost. It's hard to get a complete apples to apples on the costs we've expended and the costs we will expend, but we're trying to work on some of those numbers because I know those were requested. So we'll get that really high-level spreadsheet out to you all so you can see those costs, but also understand the improved functionality and kind of the better system we're going to be transitioning to under that recommendation. Absolutely.
Next is the municipal order contract for special inspections in City Hall renovation project. You got an update?
This one will be even easier, well, a lot easier than the last one. You'll notice there's nothing in your packet for this. We were trying to work on some refining some of the details and understanding the procurement process. So under our contract with Codell, there's portion of owner responsibilities. So we've known from day one that there are certain things that the owner, us, the city, is responsible for, and special inspections is one of those things. So the folks at Codell sent us over some proposals, some bids, I guess, for these services, and we really just need to vet whether we're satisfied from a procurement standpoint before we bring one to council for approval. So weren't able to get that clarified in time for today, so that will be on the next meeting. But like I said, that is a cost that up front we knew was an owner cost, but just need to make sure we're satisfied with the process there before you are asked to approve that.
Next, we have the second reading of the zone change ordinance. Lemons Mills, sponsors Mark Showalter and Connie Tackett.
An ordinance changing the zoning classification of certain real property containing approximately 1.991 plus minus acres located at 1,000 Lemons Mill Road, Georgetown, Scott County, Kentucky, from R2 to summary 1, rezone approximately 1.991 plus minus acres located at 1,000 Lemons Mill Road, Georgetown, Scott County, Kentucky, from R2 to B2. 2, provides for repeal of inconsistent law, severability of provisions, and effective date upon passage of publication. Full text of this ordinance is available for examination in the city clerk's office, 629 North Broadway, Georgetown, Kentucky, 40324, or at www.georgetownky.gov. Publicly introduced and read the first time December 11th, 2023. Public read the second time January 8th, 2024.
Okay. Get things. A motion is made. Do you have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have discussion, so I guess Mr. Smith's going to talk about this.
Richard Smith here for Matt Welch Holdings and David Lusby Properties. This property is located at the corner of Lemons Mill and McClellan Circle, and this application is to realign the zoning districts. If you look at those maps, you can see in the hatched area, it's to match the contours of the new road that's going to go between these out parcels and the residential development behind on the east side of the road, which is the villages of Georgetown. And again, the purpose is to correct the zoning boundaries. so we don't have two different zonings on those out parcels.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay.
Thank you for the map. It's very helpful. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, is there any other discussion and/or comments? All those in favor of this motion signify by, before I do that, we gotta have a roll call vote. This is the second reading. I'm sorry. Thank you. So, Madam Clerk, if you would do the roll call, please.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Wilkins-Brent?
Yes.
Mrs. Switzer-Conway?
Yes.
Mrs. Hamburg?
Yes.
Mr. Hampton?
Yes.
Mr. Showalter?
Yes.
Mr. Stone?
Yes.
See, that I was ahead of the game. See, everybody voted yes for the anyway, so there you go. All right. Thank you. Let the record reflect that this motion passed. Next, we have the first reading of the ordinance amending code. Presiding mayor, sponsors Todd Stone and Greg Hampton.
And I can defer to Emily if she wants to go into a little more detail about this, but this was just something I kind of had on my Code of Ordinances cleanup list. So our code currently provides for a mayor pro tem to preside in the event of the mayor's absence, illness, otherwise. But the term mayor pro tem isn't really consistent with our form of government by statute, so Emily has gotten us into shape, and we'll just clean that one up, and you can expect many more cleanup ordinances in the near future.
An ordinance repealing and replacing Chapter 2, Article 3, Division 3 of the Georgetown Code of Ordinances regarding the office of Mayor Pro Tem. Summary. 1. Repeals and replaces Chapter 2, Article 3, Division 3 of the Code of Ordinances to establish the presiding officer at council meetings in the absence of the mayor. 2. Provides for repeal of inconsistent ordinances, severability of provisions, and an effective date upon passage and publication. The full text of this ordinance is available for examination in the City Clerk's Office, 629 North Broadway, Georgetown, Kentucky, 40324, or at www.georgetownky.gov. Introduced and publicly read for the first time, January the 8th, 2024.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next, we have the city engineer, the municipal order, approving the contract with Prime AE Incorporated for the 503/507 South Broadway Stormwater Improvement Project.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is the project that came out as a result of the study that we did, the stormwater study across Garth Elementary and the channel that runs between the houses and around back. What we did is we put it out for proposals on our standard procurement website for any interested engineering firms to submit a proposal. We received 6 proposals. We had a selection committee. We scored those proposals and selected Prime AE as the highest scoring proposal of the 6. It's the same firm that we have used for Cardinal Drive, the road improvement projects, as well as several other projects around town, that being the key ones. So I ask if you all would allow us to award that contract to Prime AE so they can do the construction plans and construction documents for that project.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Ms. Hamburg. Second by Mr. Hampton.
I have some questions.
Yeah, they do.
Okay, now, so let's go to now questions.
Sure.
And comments. Go.
So I noticed in going through this that Elizabeth Street flooding in Lexington and the Kingston Road drainage issues were 2 of the things that they listed that, among others, that seem most similar to maybe what we're going to be having them do.
Right.
I guess we've looked to see that those projects were well completed and it took
Yes.
care of the drainage and flooding problems in those problem areas in Lexington?
Yes, it's, we checked their references. I did not call about those specific projects, but in all likelihood, well, they wouldn't have listed them down there if they weren't successful projects that they had done. We have a lot of confidence in that firm.
Yeah.
We've used them a lot in the past. They have a good long track record. doing.
This kind of work.
This kind of work.
Yeah.
And most of the actual engineering, the sizing of the width of the ditch that's needed and the height was done through the Strand study that was done. They modeled it and determined that. So this is really preparing, this is following up that study and preparing construction documents for bidding and taking bids from construction companies to do the work.
Yeah, I was impressed with the experience that they showed on the
Right.
on the stuff you sent us. I really liked the fact that with the other projects and the intentionality of with this project, having the neighborhood engagement.
Yeah, we really need to work
I
closely
mean,
with
they call it public involvement meeting in effective
Right.
neighborhoods, so.
Yeah, they're very aware of this project. We're going to impact, we believe, 4 properties, 4 different property owners where it crosses through. And we need to coordinate very closely with all 4 of them and make sure that their concerns are addressed.
Yeah.
And they feel very comfortable with what's going on way before we go out and start doing the work.
And that may actually help give you a chance to be able to communicate.
Absolutely, yeah, you'll be one of the key.
During the process, so.
Yeah, we don't want to have any surprises.
Yeah.
We want them to have a high degree of comfort with what's going to happen and be engaged. And that's why we included that in our RFP.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Eddie, if I could, I know that we spent a whole lot of money with Strand to develop this whole project.
Right.
Did they not even put in? Or
Oh,
did
yeah, they were one of
score
the,
well,
they were
or-
one of the 6 firms, and they scored really high, and it was just, it just came down to probably the price was less.
So the weighting on our RFP was staff, firm qualifications and experience 70%, cost 25%, and references 5%.
Yeah.
Like Eddie said, largely you're not going to list a project that's going to give you a bad reference.
Yeah.
But also we got some incredibly qualified firms. So like Eddie said, it really cost did end up being kind of more the deciding factor in this case based on the significant experience each firm had. And Strand was one of the highest priced.
Yeah, I just wondered because we spent a lot of money with them and.
We did.
You know, I don't want to.
Well, they did a lot of work that is off-site, where they analyzed the entire watershed, the whole area that drains, the whole watersheds that drain down to that point. They were looking at the whole thing, and this is one of the projects they identified along with the big project that involves replacement of the.
I just wondered, like I say, we spent a lot of money with them and then
Yeah.
we don't use them, so.
I understand. Yeah, their contract, they submitted, we scored them, and it was very tight, the scores. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions or comment? Yes, Mr. Showalter.
Eddie, I've been sitting here thinking for the last several minutes, how many times Strand has been before city council meetings just over the last maybe 3 to 4 years.
Right.
And it's most recently back in early to mid last year that they spoke in front of this council.
Right.
Specifically on this project.
Right.
And if I'm not mistaken, and I hate to single him out, I think Mr. Allen was the one that confirmed the numbers because he beat me to it. Just how expensive, if we were trying to fix this project, and it was in the millions of dollars.
Right.
And I think it's important for us that I think this is a significant, if what we're talking about tonight is approved, I think it's going to be a significant help.
Yes.
It's still not the final solution.
Right. Right.
And I think, I don't know, I might not be here. Hopefully I will be. Hopefully we're going to make some positive inroads this year. And I'm just sitting here thinking back just over the past several years. I can think of a big project that we did out in Derby Estates.
Yes.
We did a pretty big project on South Hamilton.
Right.
Behind West Banco.
Yeah. We did one on Bourbon Street.
Bourbon Street, yeah.
And
We did one
and
by
we can go on
Walmart
and
where
on
we had
and
a
on.
maintenance
Yeah, the one by
project over there.
Those projects.
We have to
add
keep
up
doing
fast.
projects all the time. And we make every effort to do that. We do a lot of really small maintenance type projects that don't really go noticed, but they're stormwater infrastructure projects that just crop up, and we jump on them and as quickly as we can and try to get them knocked out as fast as we can. So this is one of the bigger ones, bigger projects that we'll do.
At some point, whether it's this council or a future council, as bad as we might not want to talk about it, and I know we have been talking about it for at least 3 or 4 years now, stormwater is a real issue. And I know we're talking about developer impact fees and hope we're going to continue to make progress with that this year. That could potentially help. We don't know yet. We don't know what we don't know. But at some point, we're going to have to seriously, there's going to have to be serious discussion, and I know it's going to be unpopular. We're going to have to deal with stormwater. It's happening all over the city limits right now. In just about, not every subdivision, but quite a few. It's a real issue. So I think, I firmly believe that this is a step forward that's going to provide significant relief.
Yeah.
But I don't, at the same time, being a realist, I don't think it's going to completely solve the issue. And so hopefully we can, this council and maybe the next council can continue to keep this on the forefront and on the front page instead of on the back page.
I agree.
So thank you for your time, Eddie, and thanks for the work on this. And thank you for your patience.
Eddie,
I
can
just
I?
thank you
Yes,
all for
sure.
addressing it. Yeah, it's the whole city, it really is.
Yeah.
It's for everybody.
Okay.
Eddie, can I
Yes.
ask a question?
Sure, absolutely.
You had taken me trip for a ride to show me different aspects of the stormwater situation. Where Clark's Ashland Station used to be on the corner of Broadway and Clayton.
Yes.
Didn't we talk about the need for retention? Is
Yeah.
that what you called it, a retention basin or area?
Yeah, that is included in the Strand study, the big study where they did a presentation, utilization of that property as part of that overall project, the bigger project that we've
To
looked.
hold back some of the water to effectively, it would then help, would it not? This is what you're trying to do now.
Yes, that's not in, that's
I know
not
that's
in,
not in this
okay.
one, but I mean, that particular spot we talked about, once that's completed, and that's not in this money, won't that
No.
also help what's going on now in front of Garden?
Yes, that's all, that would all be,
Slow
a
the water
yeah,
flow down.
yeah, it would be a collection point, a swimming pool, if you will, of a storage area for rainwater
That's
during
coming
rain.
from the Bradshaw farm,
Right,
correct?
Bradshaw Farm, and also through the downtown area. Three separate and distinct watersheds all end up right there. And it's well over 400 acres in total area that every drop of rainfall that falls within there ends up there. So it's a big volume of, and there's very little infrastructure. There's very little holding ponds along the way, just due to the age and the downtown and.
But that was suggested as a good one, correct?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Eddie, I have a couple questions. I was reading through this today in page 38 of our packet, part 2. It talks about, item 2 says, landscaping is the key component of the CD preparation. The channel is dry stacked stone and the stone appearance is important to the property owners. Backyards will need to be graded and landscaped according to the property owner's request when possible. What is that going to look like?
Well, what we're hoping, what I meant by that is we're gonna have some impacts in there when we're doing construction, like you see on any construction site. And so the yards are gonna have to be reseeded, sodded, put back, and we want to slope that water. We want to make sure we grade the yards at a nice 2 or 3% slope to grade that back toward the back so it goes to the channel and it doesn't drain back towards the foundation of the homes. It drains away from the foundation towards the ditch as we
Yeah,
do the
so
improvements.
what does according to the property owner's request when possible, what does that mean?
Well,
I
it
want
means we
more
want
rose
to, we want
bushes
to,
or-
we want to work with the property owners to see what, if they wanted to have some landscaping improvements or have, maybe sod instead of seed and straw, or maybe if we had to take out some bushes, we would put back the type of bushes they want. Just work with the 4 property owners to get their yards, back and help them, have a, I mean, we're gonna have to go through and disrupt it and tear it up anyways. So we'd like to put back something that they are comfortable with and have a look that they're comfortable with.
And giving, obviously, that buy-in to the property owner is important, but the where possible obviously means where it is not public expenditure of funds to improve private
I think
property.
that's, what I'm getting to.
Correct,
Would you
and
not
that's the
think-
where possible part. So anytime anytime there's a temporary construction easement, we restore the property to the manner it was before the project. And in cases where if it is lawful to do so, the property owner's wishes are incorporated, we'll do that. But obviously, we know that we aren't going to be spending public dollars to make private property value increase.
No, it's what's within the construction zone and in the area around it,
Right.
and what would improve the drainage on those properties.
And then also in the package, pages 45 through 48 of the packet, the header is request for proposal, Bourbon Street stormwater improvements. Why would that say Bourbon Street? And not the
That is a
503,
typo.
Yeah.
That would have been a
507?
typo. That was a Bourbon Street proposal,
like it.
and I imagine that we
So there's 3 or 4 pages in there with that header.
We may have, that's an edit that we didn't, that shouldn't be in there.
Yeah.
It's the Clayton Broadway. We use that template. I didn't catch that.
Okay.
That's a typo on my part.
Well, that's pages 15, 16, 17 of one packet and page 17 of another packet. So
Yeah.
might go through it.
If for
again.
some reason that header didn't carry forward, it's supposed to carry forward. I didn't catch that, but that's a typo.
Okay. So we've had questions and we've had comments. All those in favor of the motion? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I with corrections, because it's the page 51 of the package is the checklist for requirements, and again, it reflects Bourbon Street. So I would approve it with the changes.
Yes, that should say Broadway
Yes,
Clayton.
I understand, but
I
it
know.
doesn't.
No, I understand,
Yeah.
and
So-
you're absolutely right.
So all those in favor of the motion with changes to be made, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say likewise. And make sure that those
I should,
adjustments
yeah,
get changed,
we'll
please.
correct that. That should have been caught before it went out.
Thank you.
That's on the RFP.
Okay. Next, the municipal order approving a change order for Cardinal Drive project.
Yes. So the Cardinal Drive project is complete, as you all know, are well aware, over by the high school. And the last thing that we did, if you remember, is we added a 6-foot perimeter fence along to replace the old fence. And what we did was we put down a fence just like what was there, except we made an improvement that the county's covering. We installed a few feet extra than more than we anticipated, and that's with the additional $2,000 was shown on in the information that's in the packet to cover that additional footage of fence that we had to install as part of the project, which was more than what was shown on the drawings.
Motion, Mayor.
Motion is made. Motion is made by Mr. Allen, second by Mr. Hampton. Are there further questions and or comments? All those in favor of this motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say likewise. Let the record reflect that this motion passed.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, number 12, fire municipal order approving surplus fire gear. Chief Thompson?
Mayor, Council, we've had 2 sets of gear that's honestly been sitting idle for some time. 2019, we had Chief Bear here, and if you knew Chief Bear, he's a very large man, very tall, very broad. And then we have another set that was a smaller female, very petite. These are two sets that even with the current, or with several classes going through, we just haven't been able to utilize them. They have a 10-year lifespan on them, and I request that we surplus these and let Stamping Ground Fire Department use these. I think they may have a better shot with either a younger, teenager utilizing them, or, larger male, female.
Motion, Mayor.
Motion's made by Mr. Stone.
I'll second.
Second made by Ms. Brent. Are there further questions and/or comments? All those in favor of this motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say likewise. Thank you, sir. All right, next item on the business is our council comments. And so I'm going to start with Mr. Stone.
Thank you, Mayor. Couple things that want to bring up. Now, it was mentioned earlier tonight about a company come in to look at the salaries. I definitely think we need to look at adding stair steps in, as we discussed this morning, to give the employees an idea of where they're going to be, because it's going to be important to the police and fire, but it also will be important to Chief Bruin's crew in his hiring process, as well as other city agencies. And look at some way of adding longevity and experience pay in as well. So that's something. And then talked about the housing authority. It's been 30-some years since we need to have them start stepping up and really taking care of what they have. And one of the potential spots to look at is the Amen House has property at the far end of Hamilton Street. Thank you all. Yeah. Potentially look at working with the Amen House and the Housing Authority and working out something to where, the Housing Authority could get that land and potentially look at putting houses there that would, bolster that. The last thing I've got is the Fire Training Center. Not only from my personal experience, but through friends of the fire department that I've had, and so on and so forth. Training is the number one priority. If you don't have, you're not going to be very good at your job if you don't have the training. And I think that's a no-brainer. It also would be good for the police department as well to have that facility to be able to use as well, because I know attacking different scenarios, not only with the patrol officers, but with SWAT teams as well. Another thing that we need to seriously look at is having a place, a large size parking lot or facility to where not only the firefighters, the police officers, Public Works can have a driving facility as well. I think that, that's one of the things that is a highly used skill, but until you actually turn lights and sirens on, it's unreal what you go through. So that's something that want to bring up, that training is the number one priority, and I commend Mark for speaking up on that tonight, and I think we're all in agreement that that should be moving forward. That'd be a project to move forward. So that's all I got. Thank you all.
Mr. Allen.
A couple things. One is on the training center. I fully support the training center. My purpose for asking for the budget cost is there was a mistake made in the line item, and because of that, the budget was approved. And my purpose is next budget cycle, we have to make a decision. Is it going back to where it would have been, around the $12,000 mark, or do we keep it elevated? So.
You want me to speak on that?
No, I know what you want. No, I'm just saying, because if we know what that budget looks like, that helps us to prepare for what's coming. So that was my purpose in asking for some of that budget projection for the cost of it. But I'm 100% on board with that, with the training center. The second item is we have a director for homelessness and affordable housing. And Mayor, you've talked about it. It is not a Georgetown problem. It is not a state problem. It's a nationwide problem. People are going to be coming to Georgetown to see what we're doing. We have to get it as right as possible. Nobody's going to be perfect with this. That's why I keep asking about I'm not pushing Candace, but we have to really think this through, come out with a really strong plan and a strategy, because people will be coming to see how did Georgetown turn this around. So we have a lot of people here that are connected, and I was glad to see how she's got some connections there, but I think we need to do a little more outreach, because I don't know if we've covered all of them. There's some churches that maybe need to be pulled into that as well. So again, we have to get it right in terms of what's the strategy? Because people will be coming here saying, what can we take away to go back to our community? If we don't have anything, it's not going to be setting well for us. So we've got to have a good strategy and plan going forward. Then the last thing, I just want to say thanks to those that are still here that spoke tonight. It's always good to hear public comments, and just thanks for voicing your concerns and your comments.
Thank you. Ms. Conway.
I'm on board for the training center also. I think you're right about the homeless situation. We do need to get the most out of that and try to set a good example. I had some issues again with Republic, and I will talk to Wendy tomorrow. My situation is I'll see something near where I live, and I'll go knock on the person's door to try to say, you can't set all that out at once. You know, you've got to call Republic. You've got to give them your name, your address, get on the list. You can't just do this. They blocked the sidewalk for like 3 weeks. And that's dangerous to the person walking a dog, taking a walk at dark, whatever. So I finally caught the people home, knocked on the door, told them exactly what to do, who to call. They got online, and Republic's response back was, we don't deal with that type of item. And I know that they do. So I just said, I'll take care of it. You know, so education of the public. And they're young people. They got online. You know, as soon as I gave them 863-9800, you know, for the number to call, and hit Public Works prompt 3, then it would say, here's your number to Republic, and tell them who you are and where you are and what the situation is. So education on that. So I'm going to take care of that tomorrow for these people. But, you know, 3 weeks is crazy. Anyway, we're going to do it. Thank you. That's all.
Ms. Brent.
I want to thank Councilman Mark for speaking up about the training center, because I was very passionate about that myself. I want to echo the same thing that Alonzo had said about the homeless and affordable housing. I appreciate the public's comments and coming in here, because that's who we are working for, you all. I do want to apologize if I got off track with, you know, reaching out and asking Ms. Morris to speak or whatever like that. I will not apologize for my passion, because I'm going to have, that's who I am. I'm not going to apologize. But that's just who I am and who the public hired me to be the voice, and have the compassion for that. But I do apologize for getting off the track a little off the agenda. That's all I have. Thank you.
Ms. Hambrick.
I want to follow up on your mention of the MLK festivities. The program is after the march, and it's at the First Baptist Church.
Yes, it is.
That's amazing if you've never been. So if you do the march, go to the program. But Robbie Barber's got a fantastic speaker that's lined up, and they always have great music. And I just wanted to emphasize that. Also, around July 4th, I mentioned that we did need to continue to do our ordinance cleanups, and I don't want to forget the noise ordinance cleanup, that maybe we can look at that again before next July 4th.
I mean fireworks?
Yeah, well, noise, fireworks, yeah, separate.
Yeah.
But both of them, actually.
But each.
Yeah, and signage is a big one to look at again. But we have, and I know that we need to do it sequentially, and we can't do them all together, but I don't know if we need an ad hoc committee to look at these things or what your plan is, but
Yeah, Emily and I are kind of going through some of the high flyers and signage. The sign ordinance was on there for a number of reasons, but we'll put, maybe we can kind of download offline about the noise one, but definitely glad to look at the fireworks one.
Okay.
And see if there's anywhere we can improve. Because as you know, a lot of it's enforcement, and that's what every community runs into. But
I know.
we can absolutely look and see if there's room for improvement.
And if we could look at Fayette County and what they're doing, they do have fairly good luck with if it goes up or blows up, it's illegal.
It's also illegal to sell them there.
I know,
So
but
that's
I know,
part of the key.
there's the rub, but,
Right. Glad to put it on the list.
thank you. Because I got more phone calls about that really than even the trash pickup, with people and their pets and staying up all night, but I don't want that to get lost. Obviously, we have a lot to do as a community, as every community, with home insecure people. And I really appreciated Devin clarifying the job description that Candace has, because I think that will help us realize that she is not the person that's going to be dealing directly with the issues that individual home insecure people have, but she is the person that is going to be helping us get the strategic plan and to do some creative looking and to make the networking, it is my understanding. And so we need to give the time and the grace for her to be able to lay that foundation, and she's well equipped to do that. So I hope she understands that, and I thank you all for your input in both the stormwater and the homeless area. Because we have a lot of work that's left to do, we need to find ways to do it. Thanks, Mayor.
Okay. Mr. Hampton?
Thanks, Mayor. First of all, I don't think there's not any one council member sitting here tonight that doesn't support the training center. So we just want to let you know that, whatever we need to do, we're there to help you. We'll get this done, and wish you all the best. I know it's a good recruiting tool, and it would be a good showcase for the city. So good luck to you, and you've got this whole council's support. Thanks everyone for their input tonight, comments on the stormwater and on the homelessness. We really do appreciate those. We take those to heart. As I believe Sanjay said, we work for you guys. We need to hear from you. So we really do appreciate it. Lastly, I've gotten a few calls regarding the lighting situation on Champion Way at Falls Creek. And if you drive out there, it is really, really dark at night. And it not only concerns me for the residents of that area, but also, early in the morning on school mornings during the winter with the school buses and everything, it's just really, really dark. And I know that Falls Creek they've abided by, the lighting, all that's done. I think you said there's 4 left to go in.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so can I just back up for a minute?
Yes,
Explain?
yeah.
Explain. Just streetlights in general, the way the program works. A new development comes in, say a Ball Homes development, just to use them as an example, and they will lay out the subdivision, and it'll go on the plat, the final plat, and they'll identify where all the streetlights need to go in. We collect the money from the developer. Then I can sign off once we've collected the money, and Tracy can sign off because she holds the money in an escrow account. Then once the homes are built out to an 80% level, the streetlights go in last, because if you put them in too early, the construction guys will run into the poles and tear them up. And so they like to put those in last after the homes are built. So there's a time gap between when the plats are approved and the rough grading is done and the homes are built. It may take 2 or 3 years. We hold that money, and so in that case of this project that we were talking about at Falls Creek, which is the development out 25 across from the park, the main park. Help me with the name of the park where the fairgrounds are and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, on the other side there's a Domino's Pizza there and a gas station. It's back. We're talking about that subdivision back in there. We had put in all the street lights with the exception of the last 4. We've put that work order in with KU. They're our vendor. They install the lights for us. And so that work order's been issued for them to do those last 4. And then additional lighting would be out on the state right-of-way, and we would have to do a dark area project through the state to add any more lights along the bypass there.
So, Mayor, I guess my question is, can we somehow start the process of looking at doing that?
Okay.
Getting some lighting out there on the state. And, I know it's going to be a long process, but it is just really, really. 2 years.
Yeah.
It is just really dark.
It is.
To Mark's point, we did an overall analysis of intersections and identified maybe 50 of them that could use some lighting that are all on state, mainly the bypass,
right,
or 25 or 40, and that all could use some additional lighting, and we were able to do about 9, and that's the project that we're still waiting to complete.
Okay.
So we did about 9 out of the 50. We just, it was the first time we had done a project like that, and so that initial work has been, we've identified a lot of intersections that are dark.
I just think whatever we can do.
Yeah.
Is part of it the metal poles that you have to wait for,
think
as
so.
opposed to
Yeah.
the wooden ones? And can't we just put the wooden ones in?
They've done 2 intersections. We had 9 total, so they've knocked out 2, and we got 7 more to go through that project. It's already been issued. It's out of our, we've issued all that work out to KU to put in. It's in their court to get it. They just have to get it done.
Thank you, Eddie.
It all comes through them, yeah.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Yes, next. Okay, last but not least, Mr. Showalter.
As I'm looking at Ms. Rice, I missed something earlier, and unless Chief Thompson corrects me, one item that wasn't mentioned on this fire training facility were the containers that are behind Station 2 that really butt up directly against one of the fields. And those containers are going to be removed. It's a safety issue and it's an eyesore. So again, Chief, I apologize I mentioned that earlier, and I think that's very important.
Oh, it is so important.
I think it's very important. Second item, Mr. Hampton kind of beat me to it. I've been thinking about this tonight, and Mr. Hampton had to correct me earlier. My math is not very good. If there are no additional council meetings scheduled this year, I've got 23 meetings left. And we've been talking about streetlights. We approved streetlights several years ago.
Yes.
Mayor, we had that discussion last year. I'm going to be a pain in the side for the remainder of this year on that, because if you don't think it's an issue, just one night, if you don't have anything to do, get in your car and just drive around Georgetown and look at some of the intersections. You don't even have to go into subdivisions. That's a whole different issue. Drive some of the main streets. It's a safety issue for automobiles, pedestrians. It's pets. We've got, Mr. Morris mentioned earlier about, in his comments earlier tonight, he talked about, I heard one of the real short comments, he didn't go in great detail, which we've had discussion on for several months now, about Bridge Street and the bridge. We've got that, we've got street lights, we've got the Alexis Way extension, gosh, I just had a brain freeze, I apologize, but we got stormwater. We've got issues and challenges all over the city. It's not in one particular area, and as each one of us know, we know this. We represent the entire city, and hopefully we're going to make some significant progress next week when we have our budget work, or when we have the budget workshop / priority workshop, however you want to word that. This is a critical year. Chase mentioned earlier that just as soon as his project is done, you know, he said it, he's got 18 to 21 different projects that are in waiting, right? They're in a hold pattern. And this is a critical year for you, Mayor, and for us as a council to get some things done. All over this city, there are issues and challenges that need to be addressed. And I remain optimistic that we're going to be able to get a lot done this year. And it's going to take working together. It's going to take having vision. It's going to be thinking outside of the box. It's going to be, you know, adding police officers. We need to have this, we need to figure out a solution on a fire station. We need to add police officers. I think you asked for 3 or 4 additional officers that you didn't get in this budget. That needs to be addressed. We all know that. But we can't keep kicking the can down the road. We have to act, and we have to be able to, we've got to be able to make some important decisions this year. And again, I remain optimistic that we can do that. I didn't mean to talk so much. I apologize. That's all I have.
We talked about streetlights, Mark, in 2016 and 2017. That's how long. So it needs to happen.
Okay.
Mayor, I have one more thing. And as we've been talking about the chief's authorized level of 68, if we look at this FBI standard of 2 officers per 1,000, that would say we've got 34,000 people in our city. We've got 40,000, right at 40,000. So ideally, we should be around 80. So that's the one thing we can't fall behind on, is have enough law enforcement personnel, and we get behind in crime. So we're struggling just to get to 68, but we really need to be beyond that and think about how to do that.
One other thing that I won't beat the dead horse with the street lights. If anybody has a street light in a subdivision, wherever, let one of us know. You can contact Eddie. Eddie's the point of contact to go to KU to get a street light. If you all see them out on your ride, as Mark says, ride through the city, you know, get an address, specific address where they're out at, and let us know. We can get those fixed.
One more comment on that. And if we can't get additional streetlights, if that's just something that KU says we don't have the poles to be able to do it, which I'm just shocked that we've heard that for 2+ years now. Can we at least look at changing the bulbs to a different type of bulb that lights up a larger area instead of, you know, again, we've got to think outside the box.
I'm sure there's something we
Maybe
could,
that's a solution.
maybe something we can look at. You know, I don't know. That's something that Eddie, you and I can sit down and talk and look at the engineering part of it. More, you know, fluorescence, you know, a bigger wattage and power, you know, so that's something that probably we can look at and see what we can do. I know the issue, I know my street along, back there are some dark spots back there, but like anything else, you know, we're gonna hopefully get something done to where we can make it this a little bit more safe for people to travel on these city streets. All right. Any more for the good of the group for this council? If not, this meeting is adjourned.